just got beer from, I guess, my favorite brewery in Toronto. Got an oat cream IPA brewed with Galaxy and Strata hops from Bellwoods, and gonna make a video about Korean Canadian identity in Seoul, or not just Korean Canadian but Korean American or Korean Chinese or European or whatever, and having that identity in Seoul and living and working in the city. So it's something that I had to go through a lot of trial and errors to really learn. I can confidently say that this may be the number one tip that I would like to give to anybody who is willing to try living in Seoul or Korea. And this only applies to people like me, someone who was born in Korea but moved when they were young to these countries, and they grew up in that country for like 10-15 years, and now they want to give a go at living in Korea. And the tip is, try to stick to your foreigner identity as much as possible and not try to assimilate too much to Korean culture like you would naturally try to. The reason I say that is because living in Korea as a Korean is very difficult, and you would find it even more challenging and difficult coming from these, I guess, more progressive, developed Western countries. But I know that having come from these countries, you're gonna want to naturally try to learn about the local culture, want to speak the language, and you would want to maybe use your Korean name and not your English name or whatever. I guess try to be not fake and more authentic. And that's the approach that I had when I first started living in Korea too. But now I'm entering into my 7th year in Seoul, and to me, having done that actually brought me so much more confusion and just headaches and trouble adjusting to my life in Korea. And that is because my identity got closer to being a Korean. And what do I mean by all these troubles that will come along? Where do I even begin? I mean, there's just too many. All the social constraints, restrictions, and standards that local Koreans would find very suffocating and unnecessary and illogical would be all laid upon you, and you're gonna have to deal with all these new standards. If you know, that's only if you know how to. The first step would be not even dealing with them, but learning how to deal with them, because these will be new challenges to you that you won't probably have to deal with back home. And that took me a long time, like 2-3 years or 4 years. 여자친구를 만나고 나서부터 정말로 이런 것들을 어떻게 해결하고 처리해야 되는지 조금 살면서 더 쉬워졌던 것 같아요. 더 잘해진 느낌? 뭐 짜증나는 게 뭐가 있냐면은 뭐 그런 거죠. 그러니까 뭐 it's at home, it's at workplace, it's at 회식, it's everywhere. It's in the streets. It's how you communicate with clerks at stores. It's everything. And a lot of them are very negative. And even once you are good at it, it's still challenging. It's hard to give an example, but 뭐가 있을까요? 그리고 also they're gonna judge you. If you get closer to the Korean identity, people are gonna look at you as somebody who was at the same starting point as them, but you were lucky and privileged to have been given the opportunity to move outside of Korea to a more developed country and get all the better education and whatnot. So that's gonna add extra layers of pressure on you. What I would say is try to keep your Canadianness or Americanness as much as possible if you want to stay in Korea for a long time. And also, here's an interesting thing that I've noticed, and it's that the only identities that can survive in Korea are the real Koreans who don't really have an option of moving out of country, and also gyopos or foreigners that are obviously from another country. Not people like me who's like both, because the foreigners and the gyopos that are basically foreigners, they can, weasel out of all these difficult situations, and the Koreans won't have the same kind of expectations on these people because they know that you're from another country. But if you look Korean, if you speak the language, and if you try really hard to become a Korean, then they would look at you as somebody, you're one of them now, just more privileged and more lucky, so you have that extra pressure. I don't know how this video is gonna turn out. I just randomly wanted to make it, but hopefully this has given you guys some insight into Korean culture and what it means to live in Seoul with a mixed identity. And if you like this kind of format of videos, then let me know in the comments, and I'll come back with another interesting topic. All right, bye bye.